Okay, here we are. Hello, Primal Detroit. Welcome
Hello.
to our first ever Google Hangout. Let's see how this goes. This should be fun. So my name is Eric Corral, and I'm here with Melody Nye of Melo Farms, and we're going to talk all about her experiences starting a farm. So Melody, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Eric.
Of course, welcome to our living room. So Melody, can you give us a little, history on the farm and how it came to be, and why are you now all of a sudden a farmer?
I would love to do that. And since we're going to keep this short, I'll give the short version of it. And it really has to do with food. Animal husbandry and humane practices is part of it. But my aha moment was when I was making broth. And I was born in '60, and my parents were born in the 20s and 30s. And so broth was actually something that, I knew how to make and been doing it for years. And there was gray scum in this. And I would spend a lot of time, scooping that out. And one day I really looked at it and asked, why is there gray scum on this? So there was a journey in that. There was, food was starting to become important to people, or at least I was waking up to it. And movies like Joel Salatin,
Sure, yeah.
Information was out there. And so I started hearing about what was going on with the big ag practices and realizing that animals were not being raised the way I thought they were being raised.
Sure, yeah.
And so finding out that there was factory conditions going on made a lot of sense about why I was having issues with the food. And so the city girl from San Francisco decided in her very late 40s that she was smart enough to learn how to raise a chicken. And with the help of good friends, I figured out how to do that. And 6 months later, I got the reward of the kind of chicken that I remembered from Chinatown. Gorgeous broths, clear broths, depth of flavor. And, it was kind of a gateway drug.
Sure.
There's, still the city girl, but I'm raising chickens illegally in my backyard. Sharing this chicken goodness with a few friends and family. And
so you started with a few chickens. Was this in San Francisco?
No, this is actually in Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. Okay. Yeah. So how did you end up in Michigan then?
Well, the corporate life took me to mainland China. Okay. And pork is a big deal in China, and so many good ways of having it. And I may have been a little sleep deprived, but working long hours, I'm like, when I get back to the States, I'm going to learn how to raise pigs.
Excellent. Okay. Fantastic.
And so when I socialized the idea with my family, they actually said, okay, well, make sure that there's a space available for you to raise 2 pigs. So that was really the start of the journey.
Okay. All right. So how long ago was it that you opened Melo Farms in Yale, Michigan then?
So fast forward, 2 pigs were raised, Benny and June, successfully. And
love it.
The meat, it wasn't just raising pigs in an instinctual environment. It was the reward of the meat. It was clean when, I again, coming from older parents who relied on industrial pork chops, I'd had more than my fair share of pork chops smothered in mushroom soup. Everybody knows this recipe.
Right, sure.
And so, the pork was exactly what I thought pork should be. It was red meat pork. And so being in Oregon, being a West Coast native, starting to look for farms in that area. My husband is a native Michigander.
Okay.
And he's like, why don't we look for a farm in Michigan? And Detroit going through the changes that it's gone through, property values, turns out that we could actually buy a farm here in Michigan.
Okay.
Starting a farm in your 50s, that's actually an important piece of the puzzle, something that you can afford.
Right. That's excellent. And So now you're raising what, both pigs and chickens, right?
Pigs and chickens.
Excellent. And what kind of pigs are they?
Actually, we decided, you know, if we were doing this late in life, we were going for the gold standard. And we wanted a heritage pig to give that good old school pork. And so I did a lot of research, and we do pure breed Berkshire hogs. They haven't been crossbred for over 200 years. So it made me feel like I could actually have access to ancestral meat.
That's fantastic. So, well, first I should mention to everyone that I've been to the farm. It's amazing. The pigs are super cute. I'm going to play some videos here in a second while Melody answers this next question. But Melody, talk to us about, you know, what your approach is to farming and how that differs from, you know, the way a pig was raised that somebody, you know, might find that pork chop in the big grocery store type of thing.
Eric, I love being asked that question. You know,
Excellent.
How do you farm that's different from that differentiates? So food was one thing. An animal's life is another big issue for me, and I felt it's where I could really make a difference. I think animals should have an instinctual habitat. I think animals should be on pasture. There's a lot of health benefits for our animals. So we raise on our 40 acres. We're pasture-based year-round. Oh,
excellent. Yeah, we were watching a video of my trip to the farm, and this little buddy loved it. Have a good belly rub. And you can see we're out in the pasture, like you said, in and among the grasses here.
You know, I never tire of looking at our hogs.
Excellent. So,
oh, you were asking me how we farm.
Right. so they're on pasture. Now, is this different than what most pigs might experience?
Yeah, in fact, you know, and people have heard, you know, big ag is kind of a shorthand. Animals that are raised in confinement, animals that live on concrete. You know, there's a lot of terms that are used in that type of setting. You know, pigs and taking their humanity away from them. You know, instead of what we're seeing right now is pigs are coming out to join us. You know, big ag that houses them in confinement settings and calls them a unit,
right.
Taking away the humanity of the animal. You know, it's truly, it's something that I'm passionate about, but I'm also passionate about proving that it's sustainable for the way we used to live. And, you know, when you think about ancestral living, you know, yes, we're very, very city dense right now, but it wasn't that long ago. Literally, one of my favorite books is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair.
Sure.
Where, you know, we really changed as a society from being much more agrarian into supporting dense city centers. You know, it's not a bad life. You know, having dense city centers gives us an awful lot of opportunities. It's just that we've forgotten the relationship between urban and suburban, or urban and rural. And urban and rural, that relationship needs to come back into the picture, because you marry the two lovely cultures of good stewards of urban settings, raising well-raised pigs and well-raised chickens, and the diversity and the dynamic of a good urban center, and you've got the best relationship.
Absolutely. You kind of touched on the sustainable part of it. I know a lot of people will say, oh, you know, kind of, you know, you hippies go and you have your locally raised meats, whatever, but, you know, to feed the masses, we still need the big feedlot operations, and that the local farming model is not sustainable. What do you say to that?
It's a great conversation starter. You know, there's a lot of different jump off points with a question like that. And one of the biggest one is price point. You know, I talked about my age earlier. This year I'll be 55 years old. I started buying meat when I was about 14 years old. So we're talking about 1974. And always being budget conscious. You know, I remember that a really good deal for a pork chop was $1.99 a pound. And I'm talking about 1974.
Right.
You know, fast forward, we're talking about 2015, and you guys can tell me a good deal for commodity pork, if you're buying a pork chop, is $1.99 a pound. What happened in all those intervening years where we know that the price, the cost of living on everything else has escalated? We certainly can't buy a car for 1974 prices. Our fuel is not 1974 prices, nor are our wages 1974.
Right. Sure.
So, you know, there's something kind of skewed with the model, you know, and big ag is that skew. You know, we're out of balance. There's a great film from the 90s, Squatchy. Right now we're living life a little out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a great opportunity for bringing that balance back in.
Sure, sure. And I would argue as well, to everyone out there, if you're not already familiar, you know, a lot of that price that you see on that sticker in the grocery store does not reflect the true price of what went into that between, you know, government subsidies for feed, or to the farmers directly, and farmers meaning like giant large corporations. And then also, I would argue that the damage to your health. I mean, Melody, do you have any information on, you know, is your meat better for you? If so, like how much?
We do. There's lots of great studies, but you know, that's such a great qualifier about the food that someone purchases. You know, meat is an important part of my diet, once again. And the meat that I'm consuming, you know, do I care about what that meat, how it was raised,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in confinement? A good sustainable diet for a confinement operation is purchasing stale dated cake mixes. And you know, this isn't made up. I've actually seen this. You know, so do you want to eat something that from a weight gain perspective has been given a stale dated product? What are you eating in the meat?
So something given to the animal only to make it get to market weight and not actually providing nutrition and you know what that animal needs to live.
I'll tell you a sad farmer story. When we first got here and I started raising chickens, I found a processor, and I love getting information from people, and so I'm standing out with some other people like myself who have taken the time and care to raise their own meat. And so we're all waiting for our chickens to be processed and get the gorgeous little, you know, ready to cook chicken back. And this one person was incredibly proud that they had fed their chickens as cheaply as possible because they got a really great deal on cat food.
Oh, isn't that kind of backwards? Don't cats usually eat birds and not birds eating cat food? I don't know.
Oh, that's a great point. But, you know, and the thing is, not to take away from this person, that it's the mentality. If we feed a protein as cheaply as possible, it will still gain weight. It will still gain market weight. But what are we now consuming?
Right.
You know, so it's a slippery slope. It's the type of big ag practice, but it doesn't mean that it equals a good product.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think we're all familiar with the expression, you are what you eat. And I've heard it said, though, that really the more accurate description is you are what your food ate. And so if your food ate something else, then, you know, stale cake mixes and cat food, well, that's essentially what you're eating. You know, I've heard before that people have pointed out that, you know, cows and pigs and chickens are not little alchemy machines. Like they can't just magically turn this stuff into like this perfect, you know, really healthy, nutritious protein. And, you know, if you feed them garbage, you're gonna get garbage out the other end.
Well, and the other aspect of it too, and you know, we really see it, and I know we're spending a lot of time on the differentiation between commodity meat and well-raised meat, but I think it bears speaking about, because it's not just the garbage in from a food perspective, it's also from a living perspective. If you take a lot of animals in a confined area, one of the first things that you really need to deal with is germ control. And so the way that occurs is there's a lot of chemicals that are used in the environment. The animals, for easy cleanup, are not kept on any type of soil. They're kept on grates so that, to keep the area as clean as possible. So, you don't have an animal that can heal itself like we might. If we're not, feeling well, we're going to put good nutrients into our body. If an animal isn't feeling well, they might go out and make sure they get the greenest greens and the tenderest roots, and that's good on their stomach. It gives them energy. They're deprived of that. The other thing is, when you're housing a lot of animals and you're actually housing a lot of food, because it's cheaper to bring 20 tons of feed than it is once a week than it is divide that up by days. So there's also another thing that happens. It's antibiotics.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Over 80% of all antibiotics used in this country go to livestock. So I mean, cows primarily are using up the antibiotics. So when you eat beef from a cow that was raised in one of these large CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations, you are essentially dosing yourself with antibiotics. And now we see more and more the rise of antibiotic resistant germs and the like. And I think this is causing a huge problem.
Yes, and it's this prophylactic use of antibiotics. There's antibiotics actually added to the feed to extend its shelf life in the silos. So and again, I'm not necessarily bashing CAFOs. My thought is, we know what's wrong with the system, and there's a lot of good effort to expose this and to share the stories. So I like to kind of move away from how the industry is wrong, and I focus more on the ones that are doing it right.
Sure.
Because we don't hear as much about those. We don't hear about the small farmer that raises what's comfortable for them. Examples like eggs, one of the most affordable proteins that's well raised, $4 a dozen eggs, in a family that produces with their free-range hens, 20 dozen a week. We don't hear all of these small stories because we don't see it. We know, you have to know somebody that's actually getting their eggs from a person that raises like that, and maybe see the orangeness of the yolk. So anyway, I like to focus more on the people that are doing it right.
Sure, absolutely. And I think from, this is the Problem with Detroit group, I think we're all very interested in living a more holistic and kind of ancestral approach to life in this crazy modern world. And when you have, pigs that are being raised properly, they're happy, they're healthy, they're out in pasture like they should be. It's a win-win. The pigs are happy, and then we get a much better product at the end. And I can tell you, Melody, my wife and I have had a lot of, your products before, and I can remember this pork chop we got. I mean, this thing was about this thick. We grilled them up, and it was insanely delicious. I mean, you don't even know, or you wouldn't even know that you were eating pork. Like, it was just so different, so juicy, so moist. Like, knocked it out of the park. It was brilliant. It was great. So it was really good. So that's my testimony. What other feedback have you gotten from customers? And
another story, definitely not an ugly one, but a story that I love to share. It's an immigrant story. We're at Detroit Eastern Market every Saturday, and a lot of people pass through, and some people are truly searching out the farmers that raise their own food. And we'll get people that ask the proof points. Do you really raise your own chickens? What do you do in winter? Do you have flock issues? And so they really know how chickens should be raised. And so we'll get the people that try our eggs for the first time. And they've got somebody that's, one generation removed from living in Poland or the Ukraine or one of the, Asia. And they'll come back the next week and they'll say, this is like home. And it makes me tear up.
Sure, absolutely.
Because we should be so far removed from our food that we have food memories already.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have food memories. We should have good food all of the time.
Absolutely.
But I'm definitely happy to be part of somebody's connection to a life that they enjoyed.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So not only are you providing them with a delicious, nutritious, good for you product, but then it also reminds them of home.
Yeah.
Which is, like you said, kind of sad commentary that they have to seek out something different just to get what they should be getting all along.
But to me, it's like we're playing, we're back in the 20s. And Upton Sinclair, there's been different parts of my journey to farming. I'm an accidental activist. It was really personal when I started, but it's grown bigger. I didn't realize how many things I was going to change or need to change or affect in my farming. All I wanted was good food.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted good food for our family.
Sure.
Then I decided that I really wanted to change bigger things. I wanted to change, Temple Grandin was a great influence on animal rights, on how animals are treated. If we raise animals for food, at some point we need to deal with how they live and how they die. And being conscientious and a good steward the whole entire journey, to me, is the best part of raising an animal.
Absolutely. What are some things that, now you've been farming for about 5 years, what have you learned, and also what's been like most unexpected? Like what surprised you the most, either about farming or about pigs or even about yourself?
It's funny that you mentioned that it's 5 years. April 1 is our 5th year anniversary.
Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you. And there's a piece of me that I cannot believe that it's been 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I was here in the winter before last. And talk about a welcome to Michigan.
I think we all remember that.
Oh my gosh. If we had had that winter the first year we had animals, I think I would have lost my mind. Because, how our animals live and their comfort, and, not having generations of farm smarts, it was nerve-wracking.
Sure.
But, you asked about the type of pigs we raise, and I had selected Berkshire. And the absolute cool thing about heritage hogs that haven't been crossbred in over 200 years is they have fur. And they're well suited for these Michigan winters. And they just get furrier and furrier. I have one of my favorite photos is one of our sows, and you can see throughout the months, losing the coat in the summer and then gaining it in the winter. And they did fabulous. Our pigs taught us, it's like, give us straw, give us shelter. They grow fur, and, you can see in the pictures, you talk about distal points, no frostbite issues with ears or with the snout, or, they truly are perfect for this area.
That's amazing. I didn't even know pigs had fur. And did you all know that? That's pretty amazing. I think I might have a video here that kind of shows a close-up of one of the little guys here. Let's see. Might be able to see some of that fur. There we go. You can kind of see some of their fur. Now this is obviously in the summer, so it's a lot thinner. But that's just awesome. So you've talked about your local consumers. Have restaurants embraced what you're doing? Have you gotten much feedback from them?
Who would have known? We started making a difference with our own plate. And one day, my husband Lynn turned to me, and we come from the West Coast where people like Alice Waters in Berkeley, have embraced local food. And so, and anybody who's ever seen Portlandia knows what I'm going to say. Going to the restaurant and seeing we're from Portland, Oregon, seeing the farm's name on the restaurant is a proof point of quality, a differentiation. And we were at a Portland restaurant, and Lynn said, "I want to be the name on the menu." And so, you could have knocked me over with a feather. But when we were at Eastern Market, chefs from restaurants came up and asked us questions. Good restaurants like Roast, they want to bring good food to the table. And so we restaurants have picked this up. Debt of gratitude to George, Asagi Bistro in Ferndale.
Okay.
Was the first restaurant chef owner that put us on the menu.
Excellent.
But what's really key to this, and it's very similar to a person who comes to the market and wants to make a difference plate by plate. I'm going to find my farmer. I'm going to trust my food source. Well, restaurants like to do this too, but restaurants are open 6 to 7 days a week, and they plate a lot of dinners.
Right.
So working with a sustainable farmer, one of the best ways to do that is to make us a special and feature us, once or twice a year. And so not only did restaurants embrace us, but they embraced the way that you need to work with a small farmer. Roast, John, who's the chef de cuisine at Roast, just featured one of our mulefoot hogs. We raise a second heritage hog on our farm. And it's huge. A lot of it he turned into charcuterie.
Excellent. My favorite. Love it.
Well, when you want to extend the life of your meat, without refrigeration, you want to go for that old cure,
right.
Old school curing.
Right.
Good Lord, thank goodness we're not doing this with a cocktail.
Maybe next time.
Gotten that one out.
Right.
So yeah, restaurants have embraced us and embraced us in a big way. Mulefoot Gastropub is another one. I almost have to work it backwards because I don't want to forget anyone. Andy Holiday just recently opened a restaurant. We're on the menu there, and I'm blanking on the name. Sheldon Standard.
Oh yeah. I believe that was just named Restaurant of the Year.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very cool.
Exactly, not to forget that. Pop-up chefs, embrace our model as well. Brad Greenhill has rocked us. He's getting ready to open his restaurant. Katoy is another one. It's just been fabulous.
Excellent. So in addition to these wonderful restaurants that are serving your products, where else can people find you and come buy some tasty pork?
Oh my gosh. Well, normally it's just at Eastern Market on Saturdays.
Okay.
Seasonally, we're at Birmingham Farmers Market, a lovely market. And then
that's on Sundays.
And that's on Sundays.
Yep. So you got all weekend, folks. Saturdays at Eastern Market, Sundays in Birmingham.
For people who are out of the area, once a month I'm at a co-op in Benton. I was there this morning. And then, of course, there's On Farm. So right now, that's really our retail area.
Okay, great,
So,
wonderful.
Just the four.
And the farm is located in Yale, Michigan, which is like northern Metro Detroit, and then a little bit more north. But
it's worse than that.
You can find it.
We always tell people it's about an hour 15 from wherever you are.
Gotcha.
I don't know how it works out, but that's just
well worth the trip. Absolutely. So, so why is supporting local farmers so important?
Getting back to what we were talking about earlier, what's the antidote to big ag? It's mobilizing a bunch of people that have small pieces of agriculture that have a passion. It's also important from a community perspective. The same way jobs are important in metro regions, jobs are important in rural areas, and it's bigger than that. It takes land to raise animals. Right now we don't raise cows, but a cow or a bison, takes an enormous amount of area to raise it right. We have a neighbor of ours is pasture-based, and they're a dairy. They have 100 contiguous acres.
Wow.
And they only have 120 head.
Wow.
So, the other thing we need to do is, revitalize all these areas so that we don't lose our rural areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would argue as well, like, if you've got only large corporations deciding or making decisions on our food for us, we're in trouble. Like, we need choices, we need options, we need to be able to meet the farmer, we need to be able to go and see the animals and make those decisions for ourselves. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a local farmer.
Thank you.
We all appreciate it. Absolutely. So 2 questions. I'll put them back to back. What's the best thing about farming, and what's the worst thing about farming?
Oh my gosh, I could go on and on and on about the best thing about farming. And, some of it, it's truly spiritual for me. When you back away from an animal's life and you're looking at your plate, the best part of farming is knowing that everything you put in your mouth is chemical free. It's not toxic. You're not going to consume something and spend the next 4 hours recovering from what you've consumed.
So it's going to help you, not hurt you.
Yeah, it literally, when I was young, there used to be this prayer that my father said over food, and it included the words, "May this food strengthen and nourish us." And fast forward, I used to do a lot of things globally, and so eating food on the road, my second best friend on the road was antacid. And so I started realizing that there was a relationship between why I was having the antacid and what I was putting in my mouth. So one of the best things is good food. But, also from a deeply personal place, I always thought after I started farming that when I saw videos about mistreated animals, that I would have less pain around them because I knew I was part of making a difference. And I can tell you, to the inverse opposite is my reaction. Now that I know about animals and I know what all of their sounds make or sounds mean, when I see a video of an animal that's not being treated well, it hurts so much more than I could ever imagine.
Absolutely.
So being part of the doing it right is such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling to know that my animals live the kind of life that they want to live.
Right.
They don't actually like being picked up. It's not necessarily their favorite thing in the world, so we don't pick them up. They like being in their own social groups. They like staying with their mom. When the moms are birthing, they don't want to be in gestation crates. They don't want to be in maternity crates. They want to get up. They want to move around. They want to reposition if a piglet's in the wrong area. They don't want to be separated from the piglets at 8 weeks of age or at 6 weeks of age. Seeing my pigs and my chickens happy just makes me feel so good.
Right. And I think that also speaks to, I think a lot of us get so caught up in our modern society and day-to-day life that we forget that we're not, humans are not separate from this earth. Like, we're a part of this earth. And it sounds like, to me, you've kind of been able to reconnect yourself with earth and, through your pigs and through your chickens and being out in nature and kind of realizing that you're just part of the whole scheme and not separate from it.
Right. I think if I summed it up, I've quit becoming a consumer and I've become a conservator.
Excellent.
And I think that's what paleo means to me as well. It's a much more conscious choice of what's going on. It's changing from being a blind consumer to being a conscious consumer.
Right. Understanding more about the choices that you're making.
Well, and choices, the it's not just, do I cut out bread? Do I eat white potatoes versus sweet potatoes? It's, how do I obtain it? What's the provenance of what I've obtained? Do I need this many calories? Am I going to go out and do a lot of activity? It's a more purposeful life.
Excellent.
It's not everybody, truly. I don't, I get asked, why did I become a farmer so much? Because I'm a city girl through and through. And I know that not everybody's going to turn that switch. Not everybody's, a lot of people will garden. But to raise an animal for protein is not something that's for everyone.
Sure.
And so this is the synergy between paleo and farmers is, pair up with a person that's following their passion, that's raising food without chemicals.
Right. And again, I think it just comes down to being a win-win for everyone involved.
It's a nice life.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So what might be like the worst part about farming?
Oh, yeah. Actually taking our animals to market is never my favorite thing.
Sure, that's tough.
It's, and that's probably the worst part. There's day-to-day struggles. Anybody who's been involved in a project, no matter what it is, you get to the point where you want to pull your hair out. And it might be because everything has gone wrong that day. When those are never fun moments, but the worst is when, just something doesn't go right. But I'm almost having to struggle. It's not a lot of worse moments.
Well, I can kind of back up what you said. Like, I've not been there when your pigs went to market, but when I did spend even just a few hours there, I found myself in the days after being there, like, missing the pigs, because you realize like what personalities they have and what character and that, I think that was my biggest surprise and biggest takeaway from visiting the farm was like missing the pigs even after being there for a little bit. So I don't know.
I have to admit, we are seasonal with our chickens. Our dinner chickens are grass-based their entire life. They come home as baby chicks and they're on grass. So we're in Michigan. That means we only raise 6 months a year. And when the last chickens go to process, and it's usually late October, early November, all of a sudden it's really quiet. And it's like, oh, I miss all their little chirping. And I can't wait for 6 months until it comes back.
Sure, absolutely. So what advice might you have for anybody who's considering a life on the farm, if they want to ditch the city life or whatever it is?
Oh, do it. Totally do it.
Just jump in with both feet and just go for it.
Yeah, and get your, whether a guy or a female, get your friends in, because you're going to have moments. You're going to have aha moments. But no, it's like anything. Start small. If you're thinking about gardening, don't buy out lows and plant an acre. Plant 1 or 2 of your favorite things. If it's tomatoes, plant a couple of tomatoes. And it's the same thing with farming. Do something that you're really passionate about, but do it small.
Right.
Don't do yourself in, and go forward.
Excellent. Well, hopefully some of you kind of heed the call, if you will, and maybe find yourself on a farm one day.
My number is on everything on our website. Just call somebody. You really encouraged me to farm, and I'd really like to talk to you about that. Go ahead.
All right, so here's your first stop right here. If you're interested in farming, give Melody a call. Their website, I should mention, is melofarms.com, so you can go and check that out. You did mention that the winters can be kind of tough on the farm. What other big challenges do you face on a farm?
There are challenges I didn't realize we were going to have. So we started the farm 5 years ago, and we didn't know what we didn't know. And one of the things that we invested in at the time was a good used tractor. And that tractor died this winter. Thank goodness we didn't have the snow last year. And I wish we would have known that we should have started this with more capital. But honestly, we started it from where we were at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always, at least you start.
Absolutely. Got to get started.
Yeah.
Excellent. So your tractor's kind of a little lame right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, what we did, we find it's not just a tractor that went out. We had other things that died. We had a tour last week, and we do have a mini silo. It's a motor and pulley thing. You turn on a lever and feed comes out that you start there. That works great until the motor dies. And so right now, Lynn's MacGyvering it with a drill. It's fabulous.
Little bubble gum and aluminum foil, and we're all set. I think so. I don't know.
You find out how inventive you are, and the thing is, you use what's at hand. Not being big ag, you can live pretty close to the earth, and not have a big infrastructure. But other things that we hadn't heavily invested in. I drive a car. Oh, I love my car. My car has 310,000 miles.
Oh my goodness, that's impressive.
And it's very recognized. It's a little Nissan Sentra. The license plate is MMM Pork.
Pork.
The other day I was in downtown Birmingham, and I stopped for a couple of pedestrians to cross the road, and one of the guys spied my license plate and pointed at it and did the heart.
Nice.
That was so cool.
Fellow pork lover.
Yes. We have a truck that it's Lynn to open the door. We lost the handle inside. He has to roll down the window and open the handle outside. It's a lot of things that you just keep moving forward. But we finally realized, being as undercapitalized as we were, that we really had a need to do a fundraiser. And so we did launch that 3 weeks ago. We used the platform GoFundMe.
Okay.
And we put together a list of, we made a pretty ambitious goal of $60,000, but there's a lot of items in that $60,000, like the truck. Lynn is truly living a primal life right now. Since we're coming out of winter, we do feed our hogs alfalfa, but they also get supplemental feed. And so it's grain, and Lynn is literally moving about a ton of grain by hand every week. My husband is 5'11", and prior to starting the farm, he's, like a lot of good conscientious guys, he did a lot of hiking and snowshoeing and went to the gym, and he really, worked to keep his weight at 190. Let me tell you, this 5'11" guy, we have to some days feed him 6,000 calories to keep him at 160.
Excellent.
So he's, but it also, so the fundraiser is to get a tractor.
Sure.
Is to have the repairs to the truck. The Nissan's still going strong. We're okay there. There's a lot of infrastructure to the farm that we just need to move forward.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so what are your goals then with the farm? Like, if you're able to get this capital, what's your plan over the next few years with the farm?
Well, you've heard me over the course of this time kind of confess to a bit of craziness. I went from just, providing food for our family and our friends to deciding that I needed to tackle the bigger issues. And so there is a bigger plan to the farm, and it's community farming. We look at rural people and getting good food to the market. We realize that not everybody wants to be in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. There's lots of expenses to that, and there's better ways of doing it. So our next biggest step is our community farm model, where we bring the 20 dozen eggs from one farm and the grass pastured lambs from another farm, and we bring that all to market together so that the farmers that are doing it right have a place in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So we do. We've seen the light. We know how to raise. We not only know how to raise animals well, but we also know how to recognize it in other farmers. Not only that, but mentor it in other farmers. Right now, I've got a gentleman that comes to the farm every Sunday who's helping me because he's starting his own homestead farm. His goal is to have good food for his family, and also maybe to raise a couple of extra to offset his costs. We want to capture farmers like that are utilizing their area, but they may only have 1 or 2 extra. We want to get to them to market as well. So that's the next big thing.
Excellent. So kind of an aggregator for some of these smaller farmers, because I know one of the biggest problems with the local farmers is distribution. Like, how do you get your product in the hands of the people who want it? So I think this is a wonderful idea that you have to work to kind of help funnel these products to the consumer.
It's huge, and it's it's a good background in business in the prior life before farming. Gives us a unique skill set to do this.
Right.
In fact, that skill set, from a farming perspective, I was just recently asked. The Humane Society of the United States is setting up Ag Council state by state. So in January, I joined the Michigan Ag Council as a council member.
Excellent. Congratulations.
So, thank you.
So where can people go and help you out with this cause, and on the GoFundMe site?
Yes. So the GoFundMe site is really easy to find. The URL is gofundme.com and then /Melo Farms. You can also find us on Twitter. We try to do an update every day. But the GoFundMe site, as well as our website, melofarms.com, and that's MELO farms.com. On the West Coast, Melo Farms is at MELLOW. Well, we farm like that, but it's just short for my name. My name is Melody, and Melo, MELO, has been a nickname for a lot of years.
Excellent. I love it. If you're watching the Google Hangout, not the YouTube video, I have posted a link to the GoFundMe page. I know I'm going to contribute tomorrow. Hop online, make that donation, and help move this forward. I'm so passionate about not only Melody, but just local farmers in general. I think this is a great step in the right direction. So, folks, you got to do it. If you want the best tasting pork chops, bacon, spare ribs, whatever it is you need.
Bones. For good broth.
Oh, best thing ever. And some of the most amazing eggs you will ever have, like unlike anything you've ever seen before. Check it out. Come and see Melody and Lynn at either Eastern Market on Saturday or Birmingham here this summer on Sundays, and certainly through their website, and hopefully you can help out with their GoFundMe page.
Thank you. And it's also, if you can get the word out, I've always envisioned this campaign as I wanted, how the Stand Up to Cancer, the ST, I really wanted to put this as a 1 by 1 equals 60K, because I feel like a lot of people contributing small amounts makes a difference. If you've ever wanted to farm, it's almost like public television.
Sure, yeah.
Going, if you've ever had a dream to farm, if you've ever had, wanted a farm fresh egg, and that people should have farm fresh eggs, and you want to help with the people that are passionate to create that infrastructure, go ahead and donate. If you ever heard a grandparent's story about, their days on the farm, and it was a good story, not the day they fell in the creek, donate. It's, we all own a piece of this. We own a piece of this, even if we're not in Detroit. There's lots of farmers like us that want a place in the marketplace.
Excellent. Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity to really affect change, and to help realize that change that we want to see around the country, and certainly here in Metro Detroit. So thank you very much, Melody, for joining me and all of us here watching on the replay. We do appreciate it, And again, check out melofarms.com or gofundme.com/melofarms to contribute today. Even if you got $5, just throw in $5. It'll be well appreciated. So thank you very much. Any last parting words?
I'm serious about the farming thing. If you're thinking about doing it, give me a call. I've got lots of answers.
All right, thanks everyone. See you next time. Bye.